The night had been heavy with rain and memory when Michael Carter stepped into the quiet diner on the edge of downtown Chicago, the kind of place where the lights hummed softly and the windows held reflections of people trying not to be seen. He had closed $1 billion deal that afternoon, yet the victory felt hollow, like applause echoing in an empty hall. Michael carried success the way a man carries a coat that no longer fits, draped over his shoulders out of habit, never warmth. He chose a corner table, alone, because loneliness had become his routine, and because it was easier than pretending he felt full. If you believe that small acts of kindness can change lives, take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this matter, and so do the hearts that believe in second chances. Michael noticed them when the door opened again and let in the cold. A family stepped inside, careful and hesitant, as if they feared the floor might reject them. The father, Thomas Reed, had shoulders bent by more than weather, and the mother, Sarah Reed, wore exhaustion like a second skin. Between them walked a small boy named Noah, his shoes too thin, his eyes too observant. They took a booth near the back, counting coins with quiet concentration, the kind that comes from practice. The waitress approached, and the family ordered the cheapest items, water instead of soda, dignity intact but fragile. Michael tried to look away, but something in the boy's stillness held him, a gravity he did not understand. Michael's life had not always been polished glass and steel. He had grown up in Indiana, raised by a single mother named Ruth who worked nights and believed fiercely in doing right even when it cost. She used to say that the measure of a man was not his net worth, but what he noticed when he thought no one was watching. Ruth had passed years ago, quietly, and Michael had buried not just her, but the softer parts of himself with her. He told himself that the world was harsh, and that sentiment did not scale. Yet as he watched the Reeds share one basket of bread, tearing it into careful portions, something old stirred, unwelcome and alive. When the waitress came back to Michael's table, he asked her to add the family's order to his check, casually, as if it were nothing. He kept his eyes on the table, unwilling to perform kindness, unwilling to be thanked. The food arrived at the Reeds' booth in fuller plates than they had ordered, and confusion flickered across their faces. The waitress gestured vaguely toward Michael's corner, and Sarah's eyes lifted, met his, then lowered again with a nod that carried gratitude and restraint. Michael felt his chest tighten, not with pride, but with an ache he could not name. The family ate slowly, reverently. Noah held his fork like a treasure, pausing often to look at his parents, as if checking that the moment was real. Michael finished his coffee and stared at the rain sliding down the glass, thinking about meetings and numbers and the apartment that waited for him, silent and immaculate. He stood to leave when he noticed Noah slip from the booth and walk toward his table, careful steps, the child's face set with purpose. Michael froze, uncertain, a CEO undone by the approach of a boy who had nothing. Noah placed something on the table beside Michael's empty cup, and then returned to his family without a word. Michael stared at the object, the world narrowing around it. It was a small folded piece of paper, creased many times, edges soft from handling. He picked it up with a trembling hand and unfolded it. Inside was a drawing, done in crayon, of a man sitting alone at a table while rain fell outside. Across from him stood a small figure holding out a heart. Beneath it, in uneven letters, were the words, "Thank you for seeing us. God sees you too." The room seemed to tilt. Michael sat back down, his breath shallow. He had not been seen like that in years, not by colleagues, not by the city, not even by himself. The child had noticed his loneliness, mirrored it, and answered it with something pure and uncalculated. Michael paid the check and left the diner, the drawing folded carefully into his coat pocket, the rain no longer cold on his face. He walked for blocks, letting the night wash over him, memories rising like ghosts and then settling, gentler. Over the following weeks, the drawing followed Michael everywhere. It sat on his desk during board meetings, tucked into his planner on flights, taped to his refrigerator at home. He found himself thinking about Thomas and Sarah and Noah, wondering where they slept, whether the boy was warm. Michael began to notice other things too: the security guard's tired eyes, the intern's nervous diligence, the man who played violin in the subway with a case open to the wind. He started small, listening more, asking names, paying attention. Kindness, he realized, was not a grand gesture but a habit of sight. Michael used his influence quietly. He funded a local shelter expansion without attaching his name, insisted on job training programs that paid living wages, and partnered with a nonprofit that focused on keeping families together during crises. One evening, months later, he visited a community center on the south side, unannounced, to see the impact. Children ran in the gym, laughter echoing off the walls, and near the art table, he saw a familiar head of hair bent in concentration. Noah looked up, recognition blooming, and waved, his parents standing nearby, steadier now, hope visible in their posture. Michael nodded back, heart full and steady, the connection unspoken but strong. Life did not become perfect. Michael still faced long days and difficult decisions. The city remained complicated, and pain did not vanish, but something essential had shifted. He felt anchored again, accountable not just to shareholders but to the quiet truth his mother had taught him. The measure of a man was what he noticed. Michael noticed now. He noticed the way generosity returned multiplied, not as wealth, but as meaning. He noticed that being seen carried responsibility, and that responsibility was a gift. Before the story ends, please leave a comment below telling us where you were watching from and what small act of kindness has changed your life. Your words might be the hope someone else needs today. On a clear morning, Michael framed Noah's drawing and hung it in his office where anyone could see it. Visitors asked about it, and Michael told them it was a reminder. He did not explain further. He did not need to. Some reminders were meant to work silently, reshaping choices one moment at a time. As he looked out over the city that had once felt like a maze, Michael felt something close to peace. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe, and let your engagement be a signal that compassion still matters. Sometimes all it takes to change a life is a meal, a moment, and a child brave enough to leave a heart on the table.